Most people will work for 40 years and never save $10,000. And the reason has nothing to do with how much they earn. Let me ask you something honest. How many times have you told yourself, this month, I'm going to start saving? And then the month ends, your account is empty, and you have absolutely nothing to show for it. No savings, no progress, just the same cycle repeating itself over and over again. If that sounds familiar, I want you to know, that's not a discipline problem. That's not a you problem. That is a system problem. And today, I'm going to give you the exact system that actually works. Because here's the truth nobody in the personal finance world wants to say out loud. Saving your first $10,000 is not about cutting your coffee or skipping restaurants. Those things don't move the needle. What actually moves the needle is understanding a few specific principles that completely change the way money flows in your life. And I'm not talking about theory. I'm not talking about textbook advice. I'm talking about a step-by-step method, the kind that works whether you're making $2,000 a month or $5,000 a month. The kind that works even if you've tried before and failed. The kind that nobody really breaks down in a clear, simple, actionable way. By the end of this video, you're going to walk away with a complete roadmap. A real plan, not motivation, an actual plan that you can start executing today, not tomorrow, not next Monday, today. So if you're serious about changing your financial life, stay with me, because part 1 of this plan starts right now. Now, before we get into the actual steps, I need to talk about something that most finance channels completely skip over. And that is why most people, despite earning decent money, never manage to save anything significant. Because if you don't understand the root cause, no strategy in the world is going to help you. Here's what's actually happening. Most people operate on what I call the leftover system. They get paid, they spend on rent, food, bills, subscriptions, going out. And then at the end of the month, whatever is left over, that's what they try to save. And the problem with that system is brutally simple. There is never anything left over. Life always finds a way to consume every single dollar you make. This is not a coincidence. This is not bad luck. This is just how money behaves when you don't give it a direction. Money without a plan disappears. Every single time. It doesn't matter if you got a raise. It doesn't matter if you cut a few expenses. If the system is broken, the results will always be the same. And here's what makes it worse. Most people also have zero clarity on where their money is actually going. They have a rough idea, but a rough idea is not enough. Because it's always the small, invisible expenses that quietly drain your account every month without you even noticing. The subscriptions you forgot about. The impulse purchases that felt small in the moment. The treat yourself moments that happen a little too often. So the first mental shift you need to make, before any strategy, before any savings account, before anything else, is this. You are not going to save what is left over. You are going to save first and live on what is left. That one shift alone changes everything. Okay, so now that you understand why the leftover system fails, let's talk about mindset. And before you roll your eyes and think, oh great, another mindset speech, hear me out. Because what I'm about to share is not motivational fluff. This is a very specific psychological shift that directly impacts your saving behavior. And without it, even the best strategy will fall apart. Here's the problem most people have with saving $10,000. They look at that number and it feels enormous. It feels far away. It feels like something that happens to other people. People who earn more, people who have fewer bills, people who got lucky somehow. And because it feels so far away, they never really commit to it. They sort of try. They half-heartedly put a little aside here and there. But that deep, serious commitment never happens. And that lack of commitment is exactly why they stay stuck. So here's the shift I want you to make right now. Stop seeing $10,000 as one giant goal. Break it down until it stops feeling scary. $10,000 is just 12 months of saving $834. That's it. Less than $30 a day. Now, I'm not saying $834 a month is easy. For a lot of people, it's a real stretch. But it is a real number. It is a specific number. And specific numbers are something your brain can actually work with. Because here's what happens when a goal becomes specific and believable. Your brain stops treating it like a fantasy and starts treating it like a mission. And that changes everything about how you make daily decisions. Suddenly, that unnecessary purchase feels different. Suddenly, you start looking for ways to close the gap. The goal becomes real, and when the goal becomes real, your actions become real too. All right, so now we have the right mindset locked in. You know why the leftover system fails, and you understand how to make $10,000 feel like a real, achievable target. Now it's time to build the actual system. And this is where things get very practical, very fast. The foundation of this entire savings journey is one non-negotiable rule. You pay yourself first. The moment your salary or income hits your account, before you pay rent, before you buy groceries, before you do anything else, a fixed amount moves directly into your savings. Automatically, without you having to think about it or make a decision in the moment. Why automatically? Because willpower is unreliable. Every single day you wake up with a limited amount of mental energy. And if saving money requires a conscious decision every single month, some months you'll make the right call, and some months you won't. But when it's automatic, the decision is already made. The money moves before your brain even has a chance to argue. So here's exactly how you set this up. First, open a completely separate savings account. Not the one linked to your debit card, not one you can access easily. A separate account that has just enough friction to stop you from dipping into it casually. Then set up an automatic transfer for the day after your salary arrives. Even if it's $200 to start, that's fine. The habit matters more than the amount in the beginning. This one structural change, separating the money before you can spend it, is the single most powerful thing you can do right now to guarantee progress toward your $10,000 goal. So at this point, you might be thinking, okay, the Save First system makes sense, but where is this money actually coming from? I already feel like I'm stretched thin every month. And that is a completely valid concern. So in this part, let's talk about something that most people completely overlook, and that is finding money that is already inside your current income, just silently leaking out every single month. Here's something that will surprise you. If you sit down and do a real, honest audit of your last 30 days of spending, not a rough mental estimate, but an actual line-by-line review, most people discover they are wasting between $150 and $400 every single month on things they don't even enjoy. Not things they love. Not things that add real value to their life. Just mindless, automatic spending that happens on autopilot. I'm talking about subscription services you signed up for and forgot about. Streaming platforms you haven't opened in 2 months. Food delivery fees that add up to shocking numbers by the end of the month. Impulse purchases made late at night while scrolling online. Small transactions that feel completely harmless in the moment but quietly bleed your account dry over 30 days. This is not about judging how you spend. This is about awareness. Because you cannot fix what you cannot see. So your action step right now is simple. Go through your last month of bank statements today. Highlight every single transaction that was not essential and did not bring you genuine value. Add those numbers up. That total, that right there, is your starting savings amount. That is money you already earn, already have access to, and are currently throwing away without even realizing it. Now I know what happens when most people hear the word budget. They immediately think of spreadsheets, complicated categories, hours of tracking every single penny, and it feels exhausting before they even start. So they never start. And I completely understand that reaction, because traditional budgeting advice is genuinely overcomplicated. But here's the thing, you do need a budget. You just don't need the kind everyone talks about. The budgeting method I want to introduce you to is called the 50/30/20 rule. And the reason I recommend this specifically for people working toward their first $10,000 is because it is simple enough to actually stick to, but structured enough to create real results. Let me break it down quickly. 50% of your income goes toward needs. That means rent, utilities, groceries, transportation, the non-negotiables. 30% goes toward wants. That means dining out, entertainment, hobbies, things that make life enjoyable. And 20%, without exception, goes directly into savings. That 20% is your $10,000 fund. That is the number you protect at all costs every single month. Now, if 20% feels too aggressive for where you are right now, start with 10% and increase it by 2% every single month. The exact percentage matters less than the consistency, because a smaller amount saved every single month without fail will always beat a larger amount saved occasionally. Consistency is the entire game here. And here's the most important thing about this budget. It has to be written down, not stored in your head, not roughly estimated. Actually written down, whether that's in a notes app, a spreadsheet, or even a piece of paper. Because the moment it exists outside your head, it becomes real. And real things are far harder to ignore. All right, so you have your Save First system in place, you've done your spending audit, and you have a budget that actually makes sense. Things are moving in the right direction. But right now I need to warn you about something, because this one thing has quietly destroyed more savings journeys than any other financial mistake out there. And almost nobody talks about it seriously enough. It's called lifestyle inflation, and there is a very good chance it is already happening to you without you even realizing it. Here's how lifestyle inflation works. You get a raise, or you land a better job, or you pick up some extra income, and instead of saving that extra money, your lifestyle expands to absorb it. You upgrade your apartment. You start eating out more often. You buy a newer car. You add more subscriptions. And suddenly, despite earning more than you ever have before, you are saving the exact same amount, or sometimes even less, than you were before the raise. Your income went up, but your savings stayed flat. That is lifestyle inflation in action. And the deeply frustrating thing about it is that it feels completely justified in the moment. You worked hard for that raise. You deserve to enjoy it. And yes, you absolutely should enjoy the rewards of your hard work. I am not saying live like a monk, but there is a massive difference between consciously choosing to upgrade your lifestyle and automatically letting your expenses rise every time your income rises. The rule I want you to apply here is called the 50-50 rule for raises. Anytime your income increases, for any reason, 50% of that increase goes directly into your savings, and 50% is yours to enjoy however you want. This way you get to celebrate your progress and accelerate toward your $10,000 goal at the exact same time. At this point in the journey, a question almost always comes up, and it's a really important one. Should I build an emergency fund first, or should I go straight towards saving my $10,000? And it's a fair question, because a lot of financial advice out there gives completely contradictory answers. Some people say emergency fund first, always. Others say just focus on your main savings goal. So let me give you a clear, honest answer that actually makes practical sense. Here is the truth. Your $10,000 savings goal and your emergency fund are not two separate competing priorities. They are actually part of the same journey. Think of it this way. Your first $1,000 to $2,000 saved is your emergency fund. That money sitting in your separate savings account is already serving as your financial safety net while you continue building toward the bigger goal. You do not need to pause everything and build a perfect 3 to 6 month emergency fund before you start counting real savings progress. Why does this matter? Because one of the biggest reasons people abandon their savings journey early is that it feels like they are running two races at the same time. The moment you simplify it into one single goal, get to $10,000, everything becomes cleaner and more motivating. And the reality is, once you have $2,000 sitting in a separate account, you already have more financial protection than the majority of people around you. Now, of course, if you have absolutely zero savings buffer right now and you are one unexpected expense away from going into debt, then yes, pause and build $1,000 as fast as humanly possible before anything else. That $1,000 is your firewall. It is what stops a bad month from completely derailing your entire financial plan and sending you backwards instead of forwards. Okay, so here is where things get really interesting. Because everything we have talked about so far, the Save First system, the budget, avoiding lifestyle inflation, the emergency fund, all of it becomes 10 times more powerful when you add one single ingredient on top. And that ingredient is automation. Full, complete, set it and forget it automation. And I promise you, this is the closest thing to a cheat code that actually exists in personal finance. Here is the core idea. Every single financial behavior that requires a conscious decision every month is a behavior that is vulnerable to failure. Because life gets busy, motivation goes up and down. Some months feel harder than others. And in those harder months, the behaviors that depend on willpower are exactly the ones that break down first. But automated behaviors don't care about your mood. They don't care if you had a bad week. They execute quietly in the background regardless of what is happening in your life. So here is exactly what your automation setup should look like. The day your salary arrives, let's call it day one, your automatic transfer fires and moves your pre-decided savings amount straight into your separate savings account. Done. Before you see it, before you touch it, before you even think about it, that money is already gone from your spending account and sitting safely in your savings. Then on day 2 or day 3, your fixed bills, rent, utilities, insurance, get paid automatically through scheduled payments. What remains in your account after those 2 automatic steps is your living and lifestyle money for the rest of the month. And because the important things have already been handled, you can spend what's left with zero guilt and zero mental load. That is the power of a fully automated financial system working silently in your favor every single month. So at this point, your system is running. Money is saving automatically, your budget is in place, and you are making steady progress toward $10,000. But here is where I want to challenge you to think a little bigger, because everything we have built so far is based purely on your current income. And while that system alone will absolutely get you to your goal, there is one thing that can cut your timeline dramatically, and that is adding even a small amount of extra income on top of what you already earn. Now, before you think this means working yourself to exhaustion or completely sacrificing your free time, it doesn't. I am not talking about getting a second full-time job. I am talking about generating an extra $200 to $500 per month through something manageable, something that fits around your existing life. Because at that savings rate, even an extra $300 a month means you reach $10,000 months earlier than you originally planned. So what are the most realistic options? First, think about skills you already have. Can you write, design, edit videos, speak another language? There are people right now willing to pay for exactly what you already know how to do. Platforms like Fiverr and Upwork make it genuinely straightforward to start picking up small paid projects without any upfront investment whatsoever. Second, think about what you own. Do you have things sitting in your home that you no longer use or need? Old electronics, clothes, furniture, equipment. These can be converted into real cash relatively quickly through platforms like eBay, Facebook Marketplace, or Craigslist. That cash goes directly and entirely into your $10,000 fund. No splitting it, no spending it, straight into savings, no exceptions. Let me be completely real with you for a second, because everything I have shared so far is solid, proven, and genuinely works. But there is one challenge that no saving strategy in the world can fully protect you from, and that is the moment when your motivation disappears. And I want to be very clear about something. It will disappear. At some point in this journey, probably around month 2 or month 3, the initial excitement will fade. The goal will start feeling far away again. Life will throw unexpected expenses at you, and a voice in your head will start quietly suggesting that maybe you should just take a break from saving for a little while. That moment is not a sign that you are failing. That moment is completely normal. It happens to literally everyone who has ever worked toward a long-term financial goal. The difference between people who reach $10,000 and people who don't is not that successful people never lose motivation. It's that they have systems and strategies in place specifically for when motivation runs out. So here is what actually keeps you consistent when the excitement is gone. First, track your progress visually. There is something genuinely powerful about seeing your savings number grow on a chart or a simple progress tracker. Your brain responds to visible progress in a way that abstract numbers in a bank account simply cannot match. Even a hand-drawn progress bar on a piece of paper works. Every time you hit a new milestone, $500, $1,000, $2,500, you mark it, you acknowledge it, and you let yourself feel the win. Second, set up monthly money dates with yourself. 1 day per month. Sit down for 30 minutes, review your spending, check your savings progress, and reconnect with your goal. This single habit keeps you aware, keeps you accountable, and stops small problems from becoming big ones before you even notice them developing. All right, so you have your system, you know how to stay consistent, and you understand what to do when motivation fades. But there is another layer to this conversation that most personal finance videos completely ignore, and that is the psychological traps that silently sabotage your savings progress even when you are doing everything else right. These are not budgeting mistakes. These are mental patterns that work against you underneath the surface, and recognizing them is half the battle. The first trap is called "I deserve this" spending. This is when you have had a hard week, you are stressed or tired, and your brain starts justifying purchases as rewards for surviving the difficulty. And look, treating yourself occasionally is completely healthy and necessary. But when "I deserve this" becomes an automatic response to every difficult day, it quietly drains hundreds of dollars from your savings every single month without ever feeling like a problem in the moment. The second trap is fresh start thinking. This is when you slip up. You overspend 1 week, you miss a savings transfer, you have a bad month. And instead of simply continuing from where you are, you decide to wait until the first of next month, or the new year, or some other clean starting point to get back on track. Every day you wait is money that is not being saved. Progress does not require perfection. It only requires continuation. The third trap is comparison. Seeing friends, colleagues, or people online appearing to live lavishly while you are carefully watching every dollar can feel deeply discouraging. But here is what you are not seeing: their debt, their stress, their complete absence of savings, and their total lack of financial security. Your $10,000 goal is building something real and lasting. Their highlight reel is hiding a financial reality that would genuinely shock you. So by this point in your journey, you have money actually sitting in your savings account. Real money, growing month by month. And that feels incredible until the moment you really want to dip into it. Maybe an amazing sale appears out of nowhere. Maybe a friend invites you on a trip. Maybe you just had an unexpectedly rough month, and that savings account is sitting right there, easily accessible, quietly calling your name. And this is where a huge number of people fall apart. Not because they are weak, but because they never set up any protection against their own future impulses. Here is the hard truth. The version of you that is excited and motivated today is not the same version of you that will exist 6 months from now when temptation shows up. Future you will have different emotions, different pressures, and different justifications. So present you needs to build walls that protect your savings from future you. And here is exactly how you do that practically. First, make your savings account genuinely difficult to access. Move it to a completely different bank than your everyday checking account. When a transfer takes 2 to 3 business days to process, that friction alone stops the majority of impulse withdrawals. The inconvenience becomes your protection. Most impulses don't survive a 48-hour waiting period. Second, create a personal savings contract with yourself. Write down your $10,000 goal, your monthly savings amount, and one single rule. The only acceptable reason to withdraw from this account before hitting the goal is a genuine emergency. Not a sale, not a vacation, not a want dressed up as a need. A real emergency. Writing this down and revisiting it regularly makes it significantly harder for your future self to rationalize breaking the commitment you made today. Okay, so we have covered systems, psychology, automation, and protection strategies. But there is one more reality I need to address directly, because no savings journey ever goes in a perfectly straight line. Life will hit hard at some point during this process. A job loss, a medical expense, a family emergency, a car breakdown, an unexpected bill that appears from absolutely nowhere and lands directly in the middle of your carefully planned month. And when that happens, your entire savings system can feel like it is collapsing all at once. So I want to talk about exactly how to handle those moments without completely abandoning everything you have built. Because the worst thing that can happen during a financial setback is not the setback itself. It is the decision to give up entirely because things did not go according to plan. That decision, made in a moment of frustration and exhaustion, is what turns a temporary obstacle into a permanent failure. Here is the framework I want you to follow when life gets difficult. First, pause. Do not stop. If a rough month forces you to reduce your savings contribution from $500 down to $50, that is completely okay. Saving $50 keeps the habit alive. It keeps the system running. It keeps your identity as someone who saves intact. And identity is everything in a long-term financial journey. The moment you stop completely, restarting becomes dramatically harder than simply continuing at a reduced rate. Second, treat the setback as a temporary detour, not a dead end. Sit down, assess the actual damage honestly, create a short-term recovery plan, and set a specific date by which you will return to your full savings contribution. Having a concrete return date stops the temporary pause from quietly turning into a permanent one. Because without a specific date, temporary has a way of lasting forever. You made it to the final part. And before I give you your complete action plan, I want to take a moment to talk about something that nobody really prepares you for. And that is how it actually feels when you hit $10,000 for the very first time. Because it is not just a number. It is not just a comma appearing in your bank account balance. It is the moment you realize, perhaps for the very first time in your life, that you are someone who finishes what they start. Someone who makes a financial commitment and actually sees it through to the end. And that feeling, that deep, quiet confidence, changes the way you carry yourself permanently. But here is what I really need you to understand. $10,000 is not the destination. It is the launching pad. Because once you have proven to yourself that you can save $10,000, every financial goal that comes after it becomes more believable, more achievable, and significantly less intimidating. Your first investment, your first real emergency fund, a down payment, financial independence, all of it starts right here with this one goal, completed with consistency and discipline over time. So let me leave you with your complete action plan. Step 1. Open a separate savings account today, not tomorrow, today. Step 2. Calculate exactly what 20% of your monthly income looks like and set up an automatic transfer for the day after your salary arrives. Step 3. Do an honest spending audit of your last 30 days and identify every single leak. Step 4. Write down your $10,000 goal with a realistic target date and place it somewhere you will see it every single day. Step 5. Come back to this video whenever motivation fades, because everything you need is right here. Your first $10,000 is waiting. The only question is how soon you are going to go and get it. Start today.